There we go. And let me just check my settings. Okay. Let me check my settings on here. I hope everyone's having a great day. There I go. Okay. So today is the fourth live that I've done in this series, and we're going to talk about DIY Microlocs and the reality versus the fantasy. Okay, so there are so many people now that are looking to DIY their Microlocs, and whether it's a lack of options, saving money, maybe they have some DIY skills. But there's some information you should know. I'm going to just tell you a quick little story. Excuse my multitasking here. Okay, so I'm on live, Nubia, okay? Okay, so go to the bathroom. It's fine. Make sure she's not on camera. All right, so way back, now 11 years, 2009, I had, actually 2008 is when I received my locks, and I termed them Microlocs. And I had an idea that I wanted to provide an alternative for creating small interwoven locks. So I wasn't affiliated with their major branding at the time at all, ever. And so I wanted something that had just some more options. So I called these locks Microlocs. And because I was an avid wearer of micro braids, and at that time, the internet and social media basically had that term was you Googled it, and there was a time where it was me, the only result in Brooklyn, and then there was three other people maybe worldwide. And I really pushed hard for that term. And Google results would often show very few options. And I also attempted to trademark that term many years ago. This is a short story. It's relevant to what I'm about to say. Hi, Nubia. Stop, baby. Stop. And I did that to provide consistency into the marketplace. I wanted to have something that was a viable option, that had a little less restrictions, a wider range of tool usage, etc. But I had her and backed away, and I came back onto the scene after 5 years of being kind of just off of social media, really not that much on the internet or YouTube. And I started seeing a lot of people and bloggers, and everyone started using the term Microlocs and talking about their journeys and locking experiences and even some education. And so I felt that the main thing that's missing is some consistency in the standard. And so a lot of people were DIYing, but sometimes trying to piece together information or try to get consistency with their results. And so over the past 11 years, I've helped support people through their DIY. I've actually trained several people to DIY themselves remotely. That was about 2016, and I was really getting into the online training, online consultation platforms, and I assisted people in starting on themselves. And I've also repaired, reconstructed, refined people who had either DIY'd or received locks and they needed some support with them. So I take that and I take experience, and it's just a few things that I want to let people know about this process. Please excuse my daughter. Moms know what this is like. And so I'm trying to stay as much on task. But what I did notice, right, was that so some people are starting their DIY Microloc journeys with braids or twists, or sometimes they were using an interlocking pattern, but sometimes things varied, like their grids, their sizes. I was noticing even the definitions where there was a varying information. And a lot of people were also searching internet, like YouTube, like social media. Sometimes people were doing it randomly, or they were following some people and just kind of figuring out what to do, asking. And so, that's what I think anybody That's kind of the easy accessible thing that most people would do. And a lot of people were doing this because it was saving them money, or there may have been a lack of professionals in the area. Nubia, can you close your door, please? Can you close your door? Also, with the quarantine, that presented a current problem of inaccessibility. And some people just said, I have some skills, I'm going to go for it. And everybody, has a right to go for it. But what was happening was that some people were kind of running into some problems. They were piecing together information from here and there, trying to create their own way to address the situation, and ultimately not really getting the result of the process that they thought that they would get. And so what I want to talk about are some of those challenges, how we can address some of those challenges, and some possible solutions for that. So some possible challenges that happen is that the time to install is prolonged. So doing an installation, people may have thought they could do it in a certain time frame, and it ended up not being able to be done in that time frame, which is common. Life happens. And sometimes what I also noticed was that the sizing was really, when I talk about appropriateness of sizing, there is an ideal size that can vary from hair texture to desired look to other factors in your hair, and to texture, to the pattern that's used. And so if some people weren't able to take that into consideration or understand that, they might not get the look that they desire. Because when you install and you create a lock, you're not creating a finished product. It has to go through this process. A lot of factors impact that process, including your own hair texture, the amount of hair that's in that, the pattern itself. So sometimes people were not making that association and seeing the result they were looking for. The foundation needs to be strong enough. Sometimes people run into the problems of their foundations. Maybe here's a story I have with my own hair. Before I got it done, and I was, at the time, there was no Microlocs, there was only sister locks, and I was searching and I saw really small locks, and I had 4C hair, and I was like, I didn't have a concept of what it was like to have these locks. So I said, I want them as small as they can be. If I have them super small, that's going to make my life easier, because I just imagine them being like the micro braids I had, and just doing the smaller the better. But when I went to a professional and actually got a consultation and got the assessment, is when I realized there's a small that's great for your hair texture. There's the smallest for what you're looking for, that's going to be viable and strong. And that was a little bit more of advanced terms for me when I was not trained and I was not in this industry. And so I may have had an idea of what I thought would have been the right size for the look that I wanted. When in actuality, there were some factors that I had no idea I really should have considered. I'm absolutely happy with my sizing. I went to a professional, but if at the time I didn't have the understanding. So that's something that is important to know. Also, because I talk about tool differences. I'm talking about Microlocs that span brands. It spans locks that are created with, that are small size locks, and some people are creating them with different grids and patterns and tools. If you understand what possible differences that tools may have on your hair, on the locking process. So there's a term that I've created called, open and closed loop. I've noticed, and when you're talking about tension within the lock, that there's just certain differences. It's a more of advanced, it may not be relevant for a lot of people, and that's fine, but it is a factor that could, impact and influence of the overall look, the overall, it's just a couple of things that may affect your locks. So understanding that, and just being aware of your options. what options are out there, what's going to work best for you, what's going to be comfortable for you. Um, Sometimes people were challenged with the locks not being as strong or as refined as they'd like for them to be. Um, so just in locks in general, our hair is matting together. And I always talk about just the process itself. Within that process is a whole range of refinement. So there are a lot of people that not a lot. There are people that it's not important for them, and that's absolutely fine. That's great too. There's people that are more like, like freeform look, like a little bit of a less refined, rugged look. There are some people that like them really refined, really neat. That that there's a spectrum in that range, and so it requires certain factors, certain things to pay attention to get it to look, if you want it ultra refined. So you're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to certain things. You're going to have to make sure you have that tension on point. And it does require a lot more attention to detail. So that's something that needs to be taken into consideration when you are trying to make them really fine, really strong, really neat, really consistent. You can't let things just go and let them self-repair unless you want that kind of look. You're going to have to pay attention to that and know what to do. So that leads me to the next point of needing support with repair and grooming. I said in one of my previous slides that, first of all, there's a difference between repair and grooming, but that some repair is not an option. If it needs to be done, it needs to be done. And letting it go could sometimes create another problem. So repair and its definitions, what is categorized as repair versus just something that might not be aesthetically perfect. So there's a difference between that as well. So you got to understand that. It could be a possible challenge long term. The information sources that people are using, are they credentialed? Now I had to always try to make sure that my messages are conveyed properly. I always say that in my previous slides, if someone is doing great work and they have great skill, that defies limits of branding. That defies limits of it's not legit if it's not. So I throw that conversation out and give credit to people who have really awesome skills, who know what they're doing and have been doing it for a long time. So I put that as, if you're getting support or getting information from sources, make sure that those sources are knowledgeable, that they have a track record of result, a wide range of experience, so their results can be proven. And so it's much, that's the legitimacy for me, as opposed to because anybody can make videos and anybody does, and sometimes what works for one person doesn't always work for another person. Their results may look great on them. There could be many factors, or not. And if you try to duplicate something that someone is doing that has a different hair texture, a whole bunch of different factors, unless they're speaking from like best practices across wide ranges of hair types and women, you can't really have that be truly applicable to you. So info sources really need to be vetted and screened, and like, okay, is this person legit? Longevity, and yeah. When you are doing this on your own as well, sometimes the challenges that people are running into is getting personalized support, because they're going and accessing in their internet, but you might have an issue that's specific to you, your needs, and really trying to get that support might be a little challenging. So you got to take that in consideration if you're going to go at this and get the results that you really want. What's happened a lot is that sometimes people end up spending more time and maybe even needing to spend money to fix things. I'm not trying to discourage people. I'm trying to give you the reality. And sometimes it's not just DIY. It's if you're going to someone that might be, I've seen people break down in my chair. I'm a social worker and I'm sensitive and I'm an empath, and it crushes me to know that when you want and what you invest, time, energy, money, all of the above, and not get the results that you want, it ends up, it's just like a loss all around. So if you go into situations with a little bit more discernment, knowledge, it helps in the long run for you to get the results that you want. So you can feel great, get what you want, get the support that you need. I think that's been one of the biggest things, that sometimes people don't really feel satisfied with it. It may look, you know, it goes through many stages. So you also knowing and how to support your hair through those stages is really important. Now, overall, you want the good to outweigh the bad, but there's more problems than there are good, and sometimes you got to start it over and do it right. You don't really want to have to do that. So how do you address these challenges? If you understand that the desired results that you are looking for are feasible, just try to assess that they're feasible, especially if you're doing this on your own. Is what I'm trying to do able to be done? How will my hair, understanding how your hair will lock in your chosen starting method, make sure that is aligned with your results. So if you're trying to start it with braids, if you're trying to start it with twists, they will lock differently. Hair within a braid is going to lock differently than hair in a twist versus hair in an interwoven pattern. And so you got to understand how that's going to look throughout each of those phases. And the tools. What tools are you using? The tension types that they have. What will work best for you? That all can make a difference. Systems. Okay, so using systems that are proven, especially for your specific results, it's key. So I don't know about you, but when I wing stuff, it causes problems. Like trying to wing it, trying to figure it out along the way. So good systems also are systems that are widely applicable to, then they make room for innovation. So they don't, I don't like working within boxes, because if something doesn't work for me, I want to be able to feel like I can use something that works a little bit better for me, that will give me the results. You got to make sure that if that's something that's important to you, that that's there. And it just various grid sizes and grids. So they all achieve a different look. And sometimes something needs to be done differently to get the look that you're looking for. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. Fullness, symmetry, alignment. Those who know me know I have an MBHC method I've been doing for over 11 years that I train on. And I use that one method with room for innovation in the areas that need to, that there's room for in it, but giving a standardization for the foundation of it is what's been able to give the results that I will show, like the results for my grid, my clients' grids. So that's one look, but some people may want to do something different. So you got to understand that there are differences, and what is that for you, and what do you want to do? Yes, and making sure like these methods and standards are applicable across a wide variety of tools and lock styles. I always feel like I said, why, like things that are far reaching, and education and knowledge that reaches across is like really beneficial for me and for what I teach people. Do you not feel like you're locked into just having to do it this way for that? It's you can apply it widely, but make sure that you would get access to a professional if you need it, especially someone who has the skill level, the education, and the results that prove the quality of the work and the quality that you desire. So it's not necessarily someone that's maybe affiliated with, like I said before, if they have the track record, you get that support. But doing this DIY job is it's a process, it's a journey. I wouldn't recommend it, and I actually wouldn't have done it for myself. And I'm glad. I think my Instagram just shut off, guys. Sorry. My connection is poor, so I'm gonna shut Instagram. Or maybe you guys are there. It's not something that I would wanted to do. I think I felt that the best option for me, based on how much I was a DIY hair person all my life. I taught myself how to braid at 7. I was doing my siblings and my cousins' hair, my little sister's hair, my cousin's hair, and all the other little girls in the family when I was 9. And I just really liked to be hands-on with hair. But when I knew that I wanted these small locks and I wasn't concerned, I just wanted the results. I wanted them to look a certain way. I wasn't super concerned about, I never was like that. Like, it has to be this. I said it needs to look good. It needs to be strong. It needs to be done by someone who is reputable. And when I went to someone to do it was more than just her doing my hair. It was a whole experience. She ended up being my mentor and training me. I asked her to train me. I said, the level of quality is something that I couldn't duplicate myself. And it was just such a great experience. So sometimes if that matters to you, it's worth it to go to someone to get it done really well. But if you are a DIY person in your life, and we're in quarantine, and I get that too, just make it the best situation that you can make for yourself. Make sure you are as prepared as possible, and that you have access to support as you go through the locking phases, as your hair reaches 3 months versus 6 months. And some of those times that were challenging for me, I was just like, this is too fuzzy. What is going on? Going through the process. And having that support, having that person go in and make sure my hair is good. I used to always ask for perimeter retightenings, and I said, please groom as you see fit. So we would have that discussion about the frequency of grooming. If things were happening with the weather, humidity, summertime, whatever was happening, we had the conversation about what may be happening with my hair, what might need to be done that session. So these are a lot of factors that I felt were important. So what you should ask, what I think you should ask yourself before you go forward is this the best route for me to take? Is this, so we just talked about that. Is this something that I can reasonably do? A lot of people get some help. They realize, I had to get my daughter, my cousin, my friend to help me, or I went to the braid shop and told them to give me the braids, and then they did that. So if you're going to do that, make sure you understand how your hair is going to lock in braids versus how they're going to lock in the interwoven pattern. It looks similar, but it's not. The pattern that is used, and it varies. There's a pattern, the pattern rotations vary, but in general, the pattern is created to make a cylindrical lock. So the way that the hair is going to fuzz and swell and expand. So think about that process, and if that matters to you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But sometimes people who start with braids end up having to get a little bit more repair work just to kind of close up the spaces, because the hair is not sometimes fully locking the same way. But the new growth would, if the new growth is interlocked. Think about what resources do you have for support if you need it. So assess that, flesh that out. And how can you access them? Do you have the tools and supplies that you need? What do you need? Have you tested them? Are they comfortable for you? Are they going to give you the results that you need? And do you have access to professional support? Those are some things that will help make your DIY a little bit easier if that's the route that you choose to take, or if that's the route that you're forced to take. So I totally understand that. And with that being said, okay, I have a question here. Which installation process do I use? Braids, twist, or interlocking? I use an interwoven lock pattern. I always say that interlocking had a different meaning in the hair industry prior to people using it for locks. And that doesn't mean that I won't use it. I use interlocking, but I also say interwoven lock pattern to kind of further explain that. And I use that only to start new installations. If someone asks to start in any other way, I tell them that I kindly and respectfully tell them I don't start them that way. They're welcome to, get their lock started someplace else, and I will maintain it in an interwoven lock pattern, only because I really, really want to make sure that the quality of the foundation is up to a certain standard of what I want to provide. And so I'm just really clear about starting it that way. But it doesn't mean that people can't start it. Locks can be started in any way people desire. And so, I also know that if it's super small, into the interwoven lock or the interlocking pattern is going to be the strongest pattern to go the smallest with. So I wouldn't recommend doing it in any other way when they're super duper small. Yeah. So that's that question. I can't really see. I do think I have some comments here though. Hi, Gwendolyn. Okay. So those, I do want to let you guys know that I don't know if you guys can see me on Instagram. It says I'm live, but I'm not sure if you can see me. Let me know if you can see me. Wave back if you can. I want to let you guys know that I have a free masterclass that I'm launching next week. If you are not on my email list, please get on my email list. How you can get on my email list is, you can go to freemicroloctraining.com/join. And that takes you to the Facebook group. But if you put that in there, it's going to put you on my email list. I know a lot of you are probably already in that group, may have already gone to that link, but make sure you're on the email list. I'm going to have a free masterclass launch on Monday, and then I will be giving you some special invites and bonuses and things through email. So if you're on the email list, you will be in the know. I have switched up a lot of the training, a lot of what I'm offering. I'm adding some really, this is really good, like exciting things in there. So it's a lot of differences from when I launched in the past. The courses, I think that it would be, people might be pleasantly surprised. It's some positive things I've added. So if you get in the email list, stay tuned in your inboxes, stay tuned in the group. And I will check to see if there's any more comments. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys again soon. Okay? All right. Have a great day.